Picture this. A man commits crimes so monstrous that dozens of people know about them. Lawyers know, politicians know, businessmen know. Some of them watched it happen, and for decades, nothing. No arrest, no investigation, no consequences. Now, here's the question I want you to sit with. Not how did he get away with it, but why did everyone around him let it happen? Because here's what the psychology tells us. It wasn't cowardice. It wasn't stupidity. It was something far more disturbing. A set of cognitive mechanisms your brain uses every single day. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to spot them in real life before they trap you too. We all grow up with a comforting story. The law is equal. Power has limits, and if someone does something truly terrible, eventually, justice comes. It's a beautiful story, and it is, for the most part, a fiction. Because across history, from medieval courts to modern boardrooms, there is one pattern so consistent it might as well be a law of human nature. The more powerful a person is, the harder it becomes for the people around them to see what they're doing. Not because power makes people invisible, but because power rewires the brains of everyone nearby. Today, we're looking at exactly how that happens. 6 psychological mechanisms, each one real, each one documented in research, that explain why smart, moral, ordinary people become shields for the powerful. Mechanism number 1. Authority bias. He's too important to be wrong. In 1961, Stanley Milgram ran one of the most disturbing experiments in psychology history. Ordinary people, teachers, accountants, nurses, were told to administer electric shocks to strangers. A man in a lab coat said it was necessary. 65% of them went all the way to the maximum voltage, 450 volts, a level labeled danger, severe shock. They didn't want to. Some were shaking, some were crying, but the authority figure said keep going, and most of them did. Now, scale that up. Replace the lab coat with a $10 billion net worth, a private jet, a contact list of presidents and princes. The authority signal doesn't just suggest compliance, it overrides moral judgment. The brain literally suppresses its own alarm system when the person triggering it has enough status. This is why whistleblowers inside elite circles are so rare, and why, when they do speak, nobody around them listens. Mechanism number 2. Moral disengagement. Someone else will handle it. Albert Bandura, one of the most important psychologists of the 20th century, spent decades studying how normal people commit or ignore harm. His conclusion was this: the human brain has a remarkable ability to temporarily switch off its own moral system. It does this through 4 specific mental tricks. First, moral justification. There's a bigger purpose here. The good he does outweighs this. Second, displacement of responsibility. I'm just one person. I'm not in charge of this. Third, dehumanization of victims. Subtle, often unconscious. The victims become abstractions, statistics, people who chose their situation. Fourth, diffusion of responsibility. 50 other people know about this. Why is it my job? These aren't excuses people consciously manufacture. The brain produces them automatically, especially when the alternative, confronting a powerful person, feels existentially dangerous. Mechanism number 3. The halo effect. But he's done so much good. In 1920, psychologist Edward Thorndike discovered something that should disturb all of us. When we perceive someone as exceptional in one domain, wealth, intelligence, charm, success, our brain automatically assumes they must be good in other domains too. We call it the halo effect. It's why people described financial fraudsters as incredibly charismatic after they were convicted. The halo was so strong, it blinded people to obvious red flags for years. Now, think about what happens when someone is not just successful, but legendary. When their name appears in the same sentence as presidents, when their philanthropy funds universities and hospitals, the halo doesn't just blur, it blinds. People in their circle aren't just reluctant to believe the worst. They're neurologically incapable of holding 2 contradictory images simultaneously: the great man they know and the monster they don't. Mechanism number 4. The bystander effect at scale. Surely someone more qualified is dealing with this. Most people know the bystander effect from the classic studies. The more witnesses to an emergency, the less likely any single one is to help. But what happens when that experiment plays out across institutions? Researchers call it diffusion of moral responsibility at scale, and the results are even darker. When dozens of people, Lawyers, assistants, security staff, fellow elites all know about misconduct. A strange psychological equilibrium forms. Everyone assumes someone else is more informed, more responsible, better positioned to act, already handling it, and so nobody does anything. Not out of evil, out of a very ordinary human assumption. This is not my emergency to solve. Add to this the career consequences of speaking up in elite circles, the lost clients, the social exile, the destroyed reputation, and the silence becomes not just psychologically understandable, it becomes mathematically predictable. Mechanism number 5, system justification. If the system put him there, the system must know something I don't. Here's one of the most counterintuitive findings in social psychology. People don't just defend powerful individuals. They defend the systems that protect those individuals, even when those systems harm them. Psychologists John Jost and Mahzarin Banaji called this system justification theory. The core finding: human beings have a deep, almost primal need to believe that the system they live inside is fair and legitimate, because the alternative, that the whole structure is corrupt, is simply too terrifying to accept. So when powerful people do something indefensible, the mind doesn't reach for "the system is broken." It reaches for "he must have been framed." The accusers want money. Things this monstrous don't happen in our world. This is why exposés of elite misconduct are so often met with disbelief, even by people with no personal connection to the accused. It's not loyalty. It's the brain protecting itself from an unbearable conclusion. Mechanism number 6, the complicity trap. If I say something now, I become part of the story. There's a final mechanism, and it might be the most insidious of all. Once someone is aware of misconduct and says nothing, they are no longer a neutral bystander. They are a participant. And here's the psychological trap. The longer you stay silent, the more your silence costs you. Confessing what you knew, even as a witness, means admitting you knew and did nothing. It means public scrutiny, legal exposure, destroyed relationships. So people don't just protect the powerful to be loyal. They protect them to protect themselves. Psychologists call this escalating commitment to a problematic course of action. It's most famous from financial decision-making, where investors keep pouring money into a failing stock, because admitting the loss means admitting the original mistake. Here, it works the same way. Every day of silence makes the next day's silence feel more necessary. The trap closes slowly, and then all at once. So what do you actually do with this? Because these mechanisms don't just operate in elite circles. They operate in offices, families, friend groups, anywhere power concentrates and people look the other way. Here are 5 signals that these mechanisms are active around you. Signal 1. He's too important for that to be true. This is the halo effect speaking. Greatness in one domain tells you nothing about character in another. The moment someone's status becomes a reason not to investigate, that's a red flag. Signal 2. Someone else is definitely handling it. If you've thought this about a situation you witnessed, ask yourself, who, specifically? If you can't name them, you're inside a bystander dynamic. Signal 3. The accusers must have an agenda. Scrutinize accusers fairly, but notice when this question comes before any actual examination of evidence. That's system justification, protecting the story, not finding the truth. Signal 4. I can't say anything now. I've known for too long. The length of your silence doesn't create a moral obligation to continue. It creates fear. Those are very different things. Signal 5. You feel a strange loyalty to someone you've never met. Fame and prestige can create tribal loyalty in complete strangers. If you feel personally offended by accusations against a public figure you've never spoken to, notice that feeling. Ask yourself where it actually comes from. Here's the most important thing to understand about elite impunity. It doesn't require conspiracy. It doesn't require evil people in smoke-filled rooms coordinating the cover-up. It requires nothing more than ordinary human psychology, operating exactly as it was designed to. The authority bias, the halo effect, the bystander diffusion, the complicity trap, system justification, moral disengagement. Every single one of these is a feature, not a bug. They evolved to help humans function inside hierarchies, to trust leaders, maintain social cohesion, avoid constant conflict. But evolution doesn't care about justice, and in the wrong hands, in the hands of someone who understands these mechanisms and knows how to exploit them, these features become the perfect protection system. The only defense is the one thing these mechanisms are specifically designed to suppress: the ability to look directly at power and ask what it's actually doing. If this video made you think differently about how protection of the powerful actually works, share it with someone who needs to see it.